crockpots, Instapots, slow cookers, even a Dutch oven. What we're going to be focusing on today is a meal you don't have to stand over. And that's the best kind of meal, especially whenever you got to go to work or you have things to do. Let's get started. White soup is a pretty basic recipe. It's only got 5 vegetables in it. Today we're going to be using lobster as our protein. Well, let's go ahead and dive right in. Now, I have my Instapot on sear right now. If you're using a crock pot, you can always just set it to the high setting, let it get hot. We're going to go ahead and throw in a half an onion. I want to make sure that we get all that in there. Let that sear for just a second. And that's because we really just want to get the rawness off the onion. So you can hear that sizzling. From here, we've got our rawness off. We're going to put in 2.5 cups carrots and 1 cup of mushrooms. Give that a nice little stir. Now we're going to do 3.5 cups potatoes. I used red potatoes for this recipe. You can use whichever one you like. I've just found that the red potatoes really hold their texture a little bit better than some of your Idahos and golden potatoes. Now, 2 cups of frozen peas. You can use fresh peas if you want. I just happen to have frozen peas on hand, so that's what I'm using today. Now we're going to let that sear for just a minute. Give it a nice little stir to mix everything up. I'm going to let y'all look at that real quick. And this is exactly what you want to see. Everything's incorporated. You have that nice little sear going on the bottom. And we're going to go ahead and finish this up and put the lid on. So I've just flipped our Instapot off of our sear setting and put it onto our pressure cook setting. I'm going to add 2 cups of chicken stock. So give that a nice little stir, kind of mix everything in there. You can see everything is incorporated nicely. Got that chicken stock just right at the vegetable line. So now we're going to add a little bit of salt. Let's call that about 2 pinches. So about 2 teaspoons. About 1 teaspoon of pepper. Give it a nice little stir. Make sure it gets completely mixed in. We're going to throw in 2 bay leaves. Put our lid on. And let that go to work for us. So over here in another pan, we've just got the heat cranked all the way up to high. We're going to throw in 2 tablespoons of butter. And we're going to let that melt real quick. And this is going to make the most amazing white sauce that we'll be mixing in with our soup here in a minute. Well, a minute for me. So, now that we've got that all melted, we're going to take 1/4 of a cup of flour. And we're going to put that right in there. And whisk. Now, it's not going to look like you have a whole lot in your pan. Trust me, it's going to make plenty. And we're going to let this cook for about 5 to 7 minutes until it starts getting a little bit brown, and you might even you might even smell a little bit of a nutty aroma coming from it. So you can see how it's starting to darken, and it's even growing a little bit. So we stir it up, and you can see how it's all just starting to like run back into the middle, and that's exactly what you want to see. So that lets us know that it's almost ready. So from here, we're going to start incorporating our milk. And we're going to do 2 cups of milk, but we're going to add it in small increments to make sure everything gets mixed up thoroughly. So I've just added a half a cup. Really make sure to whisk that. So we don't want this clumpy or anything like that. We want this to be a nice soup stock. I guess it's going to look more like a gravy at first, but whenever we add it to our soup stock, we want it to create a nice soup stock. You can see our nice, beautiful white sauce. And it's very much like a milk type texture. And that's what we're going for. So to this, we're going to go ahead and add 2 teaspoons of salt. Give that a nice little stir. Now I've cut my heat off. Kind of let this just sit and do its thing while we're waiting on our soup to be ready. I'm going to grate in some fresh nutmeg. Now if you don't have fresh nutmeg on hand, you can use just already pre-ground nutmeg. And I would say about a pinch of it. So maybe 1/4 of a teaspoon. Now it has started to thicken up just a little bit. That's completely normal. And there we go. That's our white sauce. Now in a medium-sized stock pot, we're going to go ahead and fill it halfway with water. And we're going to salt our water. Now remember, this is salt water. It should taste like the sea. We're going to bring that up to a boil. And then we're going to drop our lobster in. Now we got this started into a nice rolling boil. And we're going to go ahead and drop our lobsters in here. Now, let me show you a little trick. Is if you take 2 skewers and run down your lobster tail, your lobsters won't roll up on you whenever you're cooking them. So we're going to throw those in there. And these are going to cook for approximately 7 to 8 minutes. They're not really big, so they're not going to take a long time to cook. And one thing I'd like to point out about seasoning your water is that seasoning does go into your food. So if you're somebody that has issue with high amounts of sodium, then you might want to hold back a little bit on the salt. You know, as a rule of thumb, it should taste like salt water. Don't use a high quality salt. Don't use the pink Himalayan salt or a nice kosher salt. Just use regular table salt because it's not going to make any difference to the flavor of the dish. So if you're going to use the high quality salt, use it whenever you're actually eating, not to season your water. So we're going to go ahead and let these guys cook down. It looks like I've already been talking for about a minute. So in about 6 minutes, we're going to get these guys onto the chopping board, get those cut up, get them into our soup with our white sauce, and then we're going to have dinner. Alright, so our lobster's done. We're going to go ahead and pull it out and go straight to the cutting board with it. As you can see, it's very hot, has a bunch of steam coming off of it, so be very careful during this. I am actually going to use an oven mitt to prevent myself from getting burned. So I'm just going to take the lobster and hold it, take my scissors, and run straight up the belly. All right. Pull all that to the side. Clip it here on the other side real quick. Now we've got a lobster like that. Just got to flip it over. Pull it out. So go ahead and remove your sticks. I went ahead and cleaned up my work area. And we're going to chop it down the middle. And just cut it into our bite-sized pieces, about the same that we had with our carrots and our potatoes. Now that's ready to go inside of our pressure cooker. So now we've got home from work, we've made our white sauce, we have boiled our lobster, and our soup is ready. So what we're going to do now is add all of our ingredients together. So our white sauce, of course, is thickened up. Let's just go ahead and get all that incorporated in there. Set that down to the side. We're going to start getting that mixed in. Now we're going to put our delicious lobster in. Give it another mix. And we're ready for the dinner table. Why don't y'all try to make this recipe for yourself and then let me know in the comment section how it went. Now, if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you next time.
I taste it.